Alright, welcome to the Calvin Trey and Jonathan Radio Show.
I'm Trey.
I'm Calvin.
I'm Jonathan.
Alright, cool. Got that out of the way for sure. Alright, Trey, as always, what do you want to get to this week?
You want to talk about your hashtag hype train?
No, because the Chargers are terrible, Trey. Come on, man. We all know that the Chargers
I'm talking about your other hashtag hype train.
Oh, the Cowboys?
Yeah.
They're just as bad.
Well,
Oh, no.
they still have a chance to win the division, though.
Which is sad.
That is true.
The NFC East is really sad this year
Yeah.
like that. I don't know, Jonathan. What do you think about NFC East overall?
I think it's pretty sad that that a 4-win Cowboys team could potentially win the division.
One game behind.
I know it. They can do it though. I'm telling you.
They're 1-5 at home, by the way, and they play at home against the Jets Saturday or today.
Tonight. Yeah.
Tonight.
Okay, well, I think the Cowboys should definitely lose the rest of the games that they played the rest of the season because
why?
they should just get a draft pick at this point.
Okay.
I think the worst case scenario for the Dallas Cowboys is they actually do kind of good and have a chance at, the playoffs, and people get hyped up about that when they have a backup quarterback and no real running back at this point. That's, McFadden's good, but he's not great.
They have the Jets, at the Bills, and Redskins. That's their remaining three
games.
Yep.
Okay, how many wins do they have right now?
Huh?
How many wins do they have right now?
4.
4. Okay.
4-9.
4-9.
So,
And
yeah,
they're,
they'll get
they're 2 games behind now.
Okay, but they'll get a top 10 draft pick if they lose out.
Who do you think it should take?
Oh my gosh.
We discussed it earlier, how it should be. I thought it was going to be a quarterback. He wants a running back.
Okay.
They gotta have someone who's more durable than McFadden. I think they could get a running back much later though. Overall, the first round pick should definitely be someone on the defense at this point. Really like a linebacker or a cornerback, because put it this way, the Cowboys were so mad when they lost Orlando Scandrick, and I'm sorry, but Scandrick's just never been like the quarterback that everyone's like, oh, when he's in, he's locking down people. It's never really been that. If you look at his Madden rating and overall player rating, of course the Cowboys do better because he's a good cornerback, but he's not the best at all, and he's not really even probably top 10 in the league. There's a bunch of guys that I can name off cornerback wise. Revis, Joe Hayden, the Bills rookie who's having a great year this year. There's a bunch of guys that you could just name over Scandrick, and it just really speaks volumes to the Cowboys. Whenever they lost him, they're like, oh no, we lost him. And I'm like, well, he's not that good in the first place, so the defense clearly needs some help.
They've always needed help, though.
The defense has always needed help, and I like that I think our offense can do great if we have Tony Romo, because the playbook's opened up.
But how long will Tony Romo last? That is the question.
That is true.
Yeah, but I think at this point they could take a third round quarterback this year, or they could just wait one more year, because really, as it stands, Tony Romo's going to play next year for the Dallas Cowboys.
Hopefully.
Well, right, and maybe they have an injury-riddled season, maybe something like that, but I view the Cowboys as having a 3 to 4 year window right now to win it all, including this season. And after this 3 to 4 year window is up, I think that's really pretty much probably just it. So in my opinion, we should just try to draft for the future on defense at least. Who won the Super Bowl last year? Patriots?
Yeah.
How'd they win it? An interception. Their defense.
Well, that was lucky, yeah.
Yeah, by an undrafted rookie or an undrafted guy. But still, I think that the Cowboys are just too many teams are just burning them.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Redskins,
are burning them.
The Redskins. Well, the Redskins we held down to, but teams with subpar offenses that are Dallas Cowboys.
That was the least exciting game I've ever watched.
No,
We've talked about this before. Cowboys versus the Redskins. Oh man.
Right.
That was a bad game.
But the Saints, for example, right?
Yes, we're talking about
Cowboys. The Cowboys lost to the Saints 26-20 earlier in the season. The Saints put up 26 points, and the Saints can be a force to be reckoned with when Drew Brees is healthy. But I don't think he even played that game.
Yes, he did.
He did play that
game?
That
was his first game.
That's his first game back, okay. But then, I'm looking at other teams here, the Panthers have a good offense, but the Dolphins scored 24 on the Cowboys. They're not known for having a great offense.
Dolphins? They're okay to offense.
Right, but they're not Like, the Packers put up 28. That makes sense.
Mhm.
You know, but the defense really just, I think just, you know, guarding some receivers because now everything's an air raid offense everywhere.
Was there anybody that can beat Cam Newton? Speaking of the Panthers for the MVP,
Now, no.
really? Okay, he's got it locked up.
I think he does.
If he wins this weekend, if he wins this weekend and they say he's 14-0, yeah, he's got it for sure.
Okay.
If by some miracle Tom Brady wins out the rest of the season and Cam Newton loses the next 3 games when he's the starting quarterback and they're clearly trying to win,
Okay.
I mean, there's still 3 more games.
Even if I think for me, Tom Brady will win it if he wins the remaining games and the Panthers don't lose. I can still see that happening because Cam's had at least a healthy team. Tom Brady's gone through so many lineup changes.
At this point, yeah. Tom Brady, I mean, there's no running back on that roster.
But that's also if he's healthy this weekend because he didn't practice one of these days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're very, very right in that respect. Now, Jonathan, you want to talk about your team, the Browns?
I really like Johnny Manziel. I'm not gonna lie, I really do. I haven't been sold on him until this last week. I mean, he put up some decent stats. I mean, I don't know. He's just got that. I don't know. There's something about him. He's just got that it factor.
Okay, they play the 49ers. That's not much of an it factor. It's the 49ers.
Anytime he's playing, I don't know. He's just exciting to watch.
Let's see. I'm gonna look up his stats just to make you feel even better about him.
Well, okay. I guess my question is, what do you really like about Manziel? What's your favorite thing about him playing? Why do you think he's got a lot of potential that we haven't seen yet?
I think he brings something exciting to the NFL. I like his evasiveness, especially in college. I remember when he played Oklahoma in the the Cotton Bowl that one year. He absolutely demolished them. They couldn't tackle him if their life depended on it, and the guy ran for probably 200 yards that game.
Yeah.
I don't know. He's got a lot of potential, and I don't know. He's been one of the most dominant forces in college football. I mean, outside of Cam Newton probably had the most dominant season of college football in college football history. Outside of maybe I don't know, Barry Sanders or somebody like that.
Yeah, that Auburn team didn't have many other players that are notable. On that team.
I know. Yeah, it's funny because like Gene Chizik went from winning like Coach of the Year, and then the next year he went like 3-9 and actually got fired. That was all because of Cam Newton. But
I'm still not on Johnny train.
You don't like Johnny Manziel?
Well, okay, I liked him, but then I realized how inefficient he is in the NFL. He's good for college. He's good for college because that's not. You got your professionals pretty much. You got people that can go north to south and east to west, and college is usually just north and south, not so much east to west. So,
I view it as one of the things that in the NFL, the quarterback has to fit the system.
Yeah.
So if they have,
this is the Browns, so they will never fit a system.
Exactly, but also if you say it like this, there's a bunch of reasons why Brandon Whedon and Matt Castle haven't worked out for the Dallas Cowboys. There's a bunch of reasons why backup quarterbacks just don't work out.
Mm-hmm.
One of those reasons, I think, though, is that a systematic approach. In college, Johnny Manziel was kind of free-flowing in the offense. He kind of, called some of the plays. There were certain times throughout the game where you just knew that play wasn't a Manziel play. You're not going to have Peyton Manning or any other quarterback really do that besides maybe a Michael Vick. In the elusiveness category, Johnny Manziel emulates Michael Vick in college. We just have yet to see that in the NFL where it's really mattered. What I think Johnny Manziel has to do is just really work on passing the football.
Sorry, I'm laughing at the Tom Hatcher, or I don't know how to pronounce it, but his Hackett. Oh, no, not just the mustache, just what he said. He's like, I just joined the team just to kick or something like that. For
for the Utah.
Yeah, for Utah.
We're watching the Utah game right now versus BYU. I really don't know why we're watching at this point. 35-0 Utah.
With 7 minutes still in the second quarter.
Yeah, that's what he said. But I think that's how it works out. College football, it's you can get a guy like Mariota or Manziel or Cam Newton, and you can kind of mold the offense around them and their abilities. But in the NFL, you're already running a 4-3 or 3-4 defense. You're already running the coach is very specific on whatever offense they're running. They don't really change year to year, and they don't mold it around a quarterback. And I don't think that the Browns head coach is really just, even called up plays that Manziel would benefit a lot from, Tebow won 2 national championships.
True.
Yeah, that's
right.
true. Yeah,
and I don't think he's an NFL player because he's not going to truck anyone over in NFL like he did in college. He would run through guys. So that's why I don't think he worked out.
He did win an
but he did win an AFC playoff game on a Hail Mary, whatever you want to call it.
Lucky play,
on really where the Steelers should not have left their wide receiver so open. I mean, I could have probably gotten the ball to that guy. So when you're saying stuff like that, it's a little iffy. I'm with you. I believe that Johnny Manziel has a lot to prove still, and a lot that he may be able to, kind of improve on in the offseason, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But there's just really, I want to see the offense just be tailored to him, and then just everyone just go, okay, we're not going to run, this offense. We're going to run the Johnny Manziel offense. We're going to run exactly how we ran at A&M. We're going to run exactly how he did at A&M, and then we'll see what he can do. At A&M, though, he had talent around him, and that's really what's missing on the Browns, in my opinion.
My problem is, though, he's probably not going to be able to stay on the field because he can't control himself off the field sometimes. Because the past 2 games or whatever he got suspended for, it was basically a little timeout, you're going in the corner type of thing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if he's reliable.
He's 23 years old and drinking alcohol. Oh no! But
I know.
Still, I know he went to rehab and stuff like that, so you got to take it with a grain of salt.
It's always on and off too. Like one week he's supposedly doing a lot better. The next week he's back partying, and I don't know. He's just not consistent.
He's got to be, once he becomes consistent and probably matures a little bit, then I think it'll be a lot better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm really curious to see how this offseason will go for him. Because either he's going to get traded, and I think the Browns should let him play so everyone knows that he can get traded, or he's not going to get traded.
Who would he go to? Who would trade for Johnny Manziel?
Dallas Cowboys.
Well, besides them.
Philadelphia Eagles.
Really?
They didn't sign Bradford.
That's
and
true.
They need a quarterback.
He does fit the system. Because he does a college system pretty much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So there's teams he could go to. I think that no team will take him because of the off-field stuff, and they've seen in Cleveland of all places he's had, as many issues as he's had. I mean, if you bring him to a rowdier or bigger city, I don't think it'll turn out better for him. Yeah. I think a lot of teams are real worried about that, man.
All right, do you want to transition over to college?
Yeah. Yep. Let's do some bowl game predictions if you're down, Trey.
All right.
Jonathan?
Cool. Sounds good to me.
All right. So,
where would you like to start? Would you like to go to the lesser ones or not saying that any bowl game's less, but do you want to go to the major ones?
Let's make sure to hit the major bowl games, of course. The playoff championship. Who do we think's gonna? Who do you guys got there? I guess is my thing.
I've already covered this last week.
So the OU versus.
I said OU's gonna beat Clemson and Bama's gonna beat Michigan State, and then whoever wants to win in the end. I think I said OU in the end.
What about you, Jonathan?
I completely agree with him. In fact, the odds have OU the 2-1 favorite to win the whole thing. They have Bama and then the even odd to win the whole thing. So I definitely take OU over Clemson. Bama over Michigan State.
I still think they did. I still cannot believe they didn't give OU 3. They should have given OU 3, and then made Alabama and OU play each other the first week. But of course, you want the ratings for the national championship. So
I know you want the ratings. My thing about the college football playoff series is that from day one they've said if you're a bowl champion, if you are a winner of your conference in a conference game, that is just so much better than if you are just winning the conference like OU did, which is, did OU won the conference? Clearly, everyone knows that. That wasn't a question. There wasn't a tie like last year, something like that. But as you win conference, really the playoff committee has just said so. There's so much importance on winning it as a conference championship game versus just not having one.
to also kind of defend the non-conference games that Big 12 has, OU had to play everybody in conference. I don't think Alabama played everybody in their conference.
All right, you want to talk about the bowl picks?
Yes, I do.
All right. Who do you have? I know, we already know, I guess, from the past weeks about
The
who
major,
has who for the major. You
Yeah.
know, you just want to say it real quick again? Just
Yes,
now?
I have Clemson losing horribly to OU, and then Alabama beating Michigan State, and then OU winning it all. So, yeah.
What about you, Jonathan?
Yeah.
I have oh, bless you, man.
Thank you.
I have Alabama beating Michigan State and OU beating Clemson. I have Alabama barely getting by Michigan State. I have OU beating Clemson probably by at least 2 touchdowns. Then I probably take Alabama over OU in the national championship. Yeah.
Gosh. Why do you think? Because I think OU will win it all.
Really?
I think that Alabama doesn't do good with elusive kind of quarterbacks, and that they've got it really. Why do you think that Alabama will win?
Derrick Henry. I hate to be, I don't know. I just, I don't know. I think it depends a lot on Baker Mayfield. If he's healthy and if he's playing, 100%, I'd take OU. Ever since OU, when he's playing at his highest level, they're unstoppable really. But that OU team still lost to a non-bowl eligible Texas team. And I don't know. I still kind of worry about that. So I think Alabama's been more consistent, and then when you have that that quality of a running back on your team, I'd take Alabama barely over OU.
Barely.
But
I've got OU beating Clemson. Barely. I think that'll be a very close game. But no one really just think, because I don't think Clemson's that bad of a team. Period. I just think Clemson will have a tough time adjusting to the level of play. Yeah, they'll have a tough time because they have the talent, I believe. I think that Clemson will just have a tough time adjusting to playing such a good team that's already been playing good teams. And they'll have just a little bit of adjustment because I think UNC was pretty good. Then, as it goes, I really think that Michigan State will lose. Alabama will win. It'll be OU, Alabama. I think that's what all three of us have, really. And I've got OU.
Okay.
So, all right, Trey. What about the New Year's Day?
Oh, you want to cover the New Year's Day? The remaining of the New Year's Day?
Yeah, you mean the
New Year's Eve
OSU game?
Oh, well, I want to talk about the New Year's Eve game first.
Go for it.
The Houston and Florida State game. I have Houston just crushing Florida State because I don't think Florida State's that good. I think they're a little bit highly overrated.
Okay.
For their ninth position spot because they lost to Georgia Tech really bad.
I'm with you. I think it'll be a really close game because I think the Florida State's okay, and I think Houston's okay. I don't think either team's that great. I think they're about both a little subpar here and there. But I like Houston in the end, barely. What about you, Jonathan?
I take Houston. Houston, they finished at 11-1, didn't they? Okay. No, I take Houston pretty big in that game.
Yeah. All right.
So now we can talk about New Year's Day because we got.
Well, we got to talk about the one and only.
The Northwestern Tennessee game. Yeah, that's the number one.
The Oklahoma State Cowboys clearly here. So.
Yes.
I got OSU.
You have OSU? Why?
They have played teams similar before.
Okay.
Ole Miss is not bringing a physical style of offense to OSU and just really going to just beat them down. I think they have the ability to do it, don't get me wrong, but I don't think that that's how they've gotten as far as they have in the SEC. They still lost 3 games. But I think Ole Miss is really good. I just don't think Ole Miss is just going to beat us up physically. They're 55th overall rushing, and they're, for the season. So they average like 188 yards per game, which is pretty much what OSU has held done the same. I think they're very similar teams. But I just think that OSU is better at doing the air raid style / quick run of quarterback style.
If Mason
offense.
is healthy.
Yeah.
If Mason's healthy, that it all borders on that, man. You're right. Oh no.
Yeah,
if Mason Rudolph doesn't play, it's easily, I think, a win for Ole Miss.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, John?
I totally agree. It all has to do with Mason Rudolph. I think if Mason Rudolph plays, I think OSU wins fairly easily. I think if he doesn't, OSU's going to have a tough time.
I'm more of the fact of, it depends on what OSU team shows up. If it's an OSU team that creamed and beat TCU really well, that's awesome. They're going to win it hands down. But if it's the OSU team that showed up for Baylor and OU, then I'm worried. Also, the fact that their quarterback's a mobile quarterback, and we kind of struggle really bad against that.
You say that, and I definitely understand because we played Mayfield. But I think Mayfield finished overall 4th overall in the Heisman voting. I think there's definitely a difference between Boykin, and...
I mean, he ran all over Alabama. So
Trayvon Boykin?
No, the other guy.
The Ole Miss, but I think...
Or Ole Miss.
But I'm saying OSU's played 2 running type of quarterbacks this year.
Mm-hmm.
Hurd from Texas, who is not a good Texas team. But then TCU, who finished pretty darn good overall and had a pretty darn good running quarterback that we just shut down.
Mm-hmm.
And I think with enough preparation and enough preparation, it's not. It won't be that big of a factor of a running quarterback. Yeah, you're right. But I think that a lot of plays we're just going to have to run a QB spy, and hopefully they only get 5 yards. Because I'm with you on that one. I think that their quarterback has the ability, and that's what scares us. Is because if we can hold them to one element, if you can hold any team, if you can hold any team to one element, you can pretty much find a way to win unless they're too good at that element the team is.
Mm-hmm.
Alabama's just too good at running the football, and they can pass the ball well enough. But the play action gets everyone when Alabama does it. Because they have to watch the run. They have to put Aiden in the box to stop the Heisman winner, Derrick Henry. But really, as it stands, this is going to be a close game.
Yep. I believe that too. So we'll probably talk about these two. I don't know how many more we'll get to. But I do want to talk about the Battle Frog Fiesta Bowl. Because they had a new title sponsor. That's a lovely one. Notre Dame versus Ohio State.
Ooh.
Wow.
Yes, I know. I make the hard decisions. All right.
No, I mean, that's a good game.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying.
Me, personally, I think Ohio State's going to win. They are...
Too talented not to?
Too talented not to, but it also depends if the players want to show off, hey, I'm really good, you should draft me. So, that's the reason why I think that Ohio State's going to win. Because 2 of them have already said, hey, we're going to the draft. So, that's why I think that's going to happen.
I'm with you. I don't think Ohio State has a ton to play for or a ton to prove. I think individual players are going to want the ball. If they don't get it, they're going to get mad and sit out. And Urban Meyer knows that. They're not playing for, they're playing for bragging rights. They beat Notre Dame. Notre Dame, I think, has a lot to play for to prove everyone that they should have been better than what everyone's giving them crap for during the season. Mm-hmm. But I think Ohio State will win, barely. I don't think Notre Dame's that good because, they almost lost to Temple.
Mm-hmm.
So there's, I know Temple wasn't that bad this year at all, and they qualified for a bowl, but still, there's something to be said when you play a team that closely who ends up losing a couple of games at the end of the season, and it just doesn't end up materializing to be that great of a team. I guess the signature wins I'd give Ohio State is everyone but Michigan State.
Yep.
Right? Because that's the only... Yeah, and they killed Michigan.
Yeah.
But the only game Ohio State lost the whole year is to Michigan State, right?
Mm-hmm.
Michigan State, we don't know how good they are, but I think Michigan State has player and personnel to win.
They're really lucky. That's all that I know.
Yeah. But I think like Michigan State beat Ohio State on a very off day for Ohio State when Ohio State was already just mad. They couldn't run the ball real well. They couldn't pass the ball real well. They couldn't run their offense real well. Michigan State, that was exactly Michigan State's offense to run on that day when it was so rainy and so cold and so wet and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think really, I think Ohio State will win because they haven't lost anyone really bad, especially on like an even playing condition-wise field.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Notre Dame, they've taken a couple losses now. They're not as good as everyone thought they were, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. All right, Jonathan.
I would take Ohio State in that game because I think if you look at Notre Dame's schedule, they barely squeaked by Clemson. They barely. They barely lost to Clemson. But every major win they have, they barely snuck by. Ohio State. beat a Michigan team that really should have been 11-1 at the end of the season because they lost that really tight game to Michigan State. Then they lost that Hail Mary pass game to Utah at the beginning of the season. I think Ohio State really can make a case that they could have been in the playoff this year. No, I take Ohio State pretty big in that game.
All right. And the Rose Bowl, Stanford versus Iowa. Calvin, who do you got?
Stanford.
Why is that?
Stanford's just got enough guys to win it. Mm-hmm. They have enough personnel. I guess I'm not saying that Iowa doesn't, but
Iowa really hasn't played anybody this year.
Yeah, Iowa. I'm sorry, Iowa, but you just didn't do as good as we thought you were gonna do. Well, okay, I take that back because Iowa is only a one-loss team.
Yes,
but I'm amazed Iowa got as far as they did, and I guess I'm impressed by Iowa. They got as far as they did, and they got as lucky as they did on a couple of those plays.
Their biggest top opponent was a ranked number 19 Wisconsin and a ranked 20 Northwestern.
Yeah.
So that's your big wins.
Stanford's biggest wins are Notre Dame at home by 2, and UCLA, they thumped them pretty good. USC early in the season, and then USC later in the season for the Pac-12 championship game. But really, besides that, Stanford did lose to Oregon. They lost to Northwestern to start the season. I don't think Stanford's. I don't think that a lot of teams this year are just amazing, and that it's just that team has got it, and that team ended up horribly in a horrible position. But I do think Stanford has more personnel to win the game versus Iowa, and I think Stanford's better at running the football and making big plays than Iowa is. I think Stanford's better at making big plays than Iowa is. It's what will really matter at the end.
I think Stanford's going to win because they want to prove that the Pac-12 is actually a really good conference, even though they're not. They want to prove it, and they want to show that they can just dominate the Big Ten. So that's the reason why I think Stanford's going to win.
I would be surprised if Iowa didn't show up for that game, but I still would take Stanford.
We're really like to agree with each other, except for one game so far.
Yeah. I understand where you're coming from on that game, though, because I think, as an OSU fan, I'm really worried about the Ole Miss game.
I am, too.
I'm really worried. So I understand where you're coming from.
I know.
Because
I've had pretty much a heart attack every single game, so pretty much.
All right. What other game is that day that I definitely wanted to get to? Oh yeah, Michigan, Florida.
Okay.
Troy.
Michigan.
Just hands down like that.
Hands down.
Hands like that.
Okay.
Hands down. Florida's been struggling. But they've been on the struggle bus, and they didn't show up against Alabama.
Okay, we're saying this.
Yes.
We're saying as a collective whole here, we're saying that teams didn't show up like Clemson Notre Dame game. Clemson's the number 1 overall team. So hold up. So when Jonathan earlier said that Clemson was, Notre Dame barely lost to Clemson, and that was one of their bad losses, but that was a great loss if they're viewing it as it. That's why I'm very gonna respect. So if you're saying the same thing here, how that Florida got thumped by Alabama, right?
Bad, I believe.
Right. Well, yeah. But Alabama, they're number 2 overall in the country. So who are you with?
Sure.
Florida's losses this year are at LSU, when LSU was still just dominating people with,
Leonard Fournette.
Yeah, Leonard Fournette. Thank you for that. And then lost to a Florida State team that we don't think is that great, but then also lost to Alabama too. It's just kind of.
But also, they're never mind. He didn't start, so they're transferred quarterback.
Right.
So that doesn't really matter too much.
I like Florida and I like Michigan. I think Florida's got it. Oh, I don't know why I say that, but I think Florida won.
I don't think so. Jonathan?
I think, if you really think about it, I think there are 2 teams that recently fired their head coaches. 2 teams that had a miraculous turnaround in 1 year. If you look at, what's his name, Bill Muschamp's Florida team, or Will Muschamp's Florida team, and then they get Jim McElwain. They go, what was it, 9-3 this season?
10-3.
10-3 this season. Okay, and then you have Harbaugh, who just could have easily gone 11-1. I think it's really amazing how quickly they turn things around. But I would definitely take Michigan in that game. I think Michigan was really. I think if you count out the Ohio State game, Michigan really had a great season this year. They barely lost. They should have beaten Michigan State. They lost that weird punting deal. And then they barely lost to Utah in that Hail Mary. I don't know. I take Michigan in that pretty easily.
Okay, I guess since this is the one game where we differ, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where we differ a lot between the three of us. Both of you guys think Michigan will win.
Yep.
What is Michigan's thing? What do they have?
Jim Harbaugh.
Jim Harbaugh.
What is that? But is it? So it's coaching.
Yes.
And that's what we're saying. Is we just think Michigan will beat Florida on coaching alone.
Yes.
I think Florida's got an advantage because they're playing at home. They're playing in Orlando.
Much, yeah,
I mean, come on.
Nah.
That's not going to mean anything. Florida fans go crazy. That will mean more than... I'm not saying, that won't mean more than coaching, but that'll mean a lot. I mean, Michigan players and everything will be going... It's not like the Michigan game is going where they're going to Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like close. Going all the way down to another team where they're basically playing at home. Florida, we know, bought almost all those tickets.
That's true.
I know Michigan travels real well as a school, but it's like this. If OSU was playing a bowl game and the tickets were $300, but it was in Oklahoma City, you'd be more inclined to go than if it was $250 and it was in New Orleans, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
So I think that's one of those things where Florida will bring everyone that they can to the game.
We'll see.
Okay. And Michigan's thing is that they're really good on defense. And Florida's thing is that they're really good on defense. So I think it'll be a really good defensive, competitive game. But if you look for its points against Michigan, it's only had 17 points allowed this season on average, which they let go of in the Ohio State game, and the Penn State, and the Indiana, and a couple other games here. But really, as it stands, I don't think that Florida's bad. I think Florida has a lot to prove.
Yeah.
Overall, I think Florida wants to say we should have done anything different than we did, but they want to prove that there's more to the Florida team than just the loss to Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
They want to go out on a season-ending win as versus a season-ending loss. Both those teams though have had losses in their season.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty interesting.
Either way, I think that's going to be one of the closest bowl games of the entire bowl season, really.
I'll say it this way. I think that the Big Ten SEC games, and the bowl games especially, is either a complete blowout, where no one suspects it, or it is it's a close game. Let's go watch it. And I think that'll be one of those close games. I don't think either offense is that good to put the other team just away.
Gotcha.
All right. What next, Ray?
All right. Are we ready?
Yeah.
All right. We're going to go with the Russell Athletic Bowl. North Carolina versus Baylor.
Okay.
Me, personally, I'm going to go with North Carolina.
Why, Jerry?
It depends on what quarterback is starting. But I still believe, even with their starting quarterback, which I think he's out for the season.
North Carolina?
No, the Baylor's.
Oh, yeah, he is out.
Okay.
Yeah, he is out.
Then I totally believe that North Carolina is going to win it because they lost to Texas.
That is true, yeah.
So, there's that.
Won't Baylor have the same quarterback that beat us, though? Beat OSU?
Should, if he's healthy.
I think that means enough.
But they used that same quarterback. No, he didn't.
No, same quarterback. The quarterback played us was Stidham.
Mm-hmm.
Stidham. He was injured, and I believe, if I'm right here, he's the second string quarterback. If I'm right.
Who played against TCU? Was that him?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I do not think so. But, okay, so let's say Stidham is the one that starts, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Who who is better offense-wise, North Carolina or Baylor?
North Carolina, I think.
Really?
They moved the ball. Okay, to be honest with you, they should have beaten Clemson if that penalty. Once again, we're going back to this, but they were moving the ball really well against the Clemson really good defense. So, and they pretty much lost to a horrible call, because they probably would have drove the ball down and at least gotten a field goal. And was that to tie it or to win it?
Yeah, they were one of those sleeper teams throughout the entire season.
If it,
win it, I think they could have.
I know you guys aren't going to agree with me on this, but at quarterback, the depth chart. I mean, it's real weird on whatever website I look at that. But I think Baylor definitely can run the ball.
Mm-hmm.
That's how they almost beat Texas. And I know it's Texas, but that was with a quarterback who was playing wide receiver before the game. You know, there's not a lot of difference, in my opinion, between how North Carolina plays and how Baylor plays. Baylor's got a bunch of track stars on a wide receiver who just have incredible 40 times, who can just outrun the cornerback. I don't think the ACC play was that great. I don't think North Carolina in the first place was that great. I think Larry Fedora, old OSU assistant coach, can do his thing, but when it's all said and done, North Carolina doesn't have it.
Okay.
And Baylor has the athleticism to win the game.
Hopefully. Maybe. Maybe.
Was that it?
Yeah.
That's all the games you
That's all the big games that I want to cover.
Okay.
That's all the big ones, pretty much.
Alright, so then this out, I guess, for bowl games. I feel like there's definitely one more.
Oregon versus TCU.
Yeah. Okay. Who do you got?
TCU.
Yeah, I take TCU too.
Really?
Boykin wants to get a good draft stock.
So I don't think Boykin will be drafted as quarterback though.
You don't?
No.
Oh, okay.
There's enough quarterbacks this year that'll be drafted before him.
Hey, you never know. Jerry might want Boykin.
Oh God. Dallas Cowboys get Trayvon Boykin or Johnny Manziel only got Boykin.
It'd be the best day ever.
No. Boykin threw 4 interceptions against an OSU team that lost so horribly to OU.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, so this will definitely be the final podcast of the year. What, of 2015?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Woo! I was like, wait, hold on.
Definitely the last radio show. So I guess I want to take away my one big takeaway from the season. We'll talk to NBA. We'll talk about NBA for a little bit after this for a couple minutes. But
okay.
My one big takeaway from college football this year was how that OSU, a team that played such good defensive skill, and played such enough defense. Always, it was just enough defense to win the game. Just enough stops. Just enough then. Right there. The last 2 games of the season, OSU just where to go.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, I don't think that the offenses were just crazy talented comparatively to the offense we were playing in,
Okay, I would say.
But I think that, because it went from a TCU game where we held them to, where we scored 49 and we held them to almost no points. I mean, less points than on their average on their season by far. And we had 4 turnovers and just a bunch of stuff. Our defense went from that to Baylor losing like how we did, which was horrible. And then OU losing like how we did, which is horrible. Because I know our offense, in the OU game, it was evident our offense was not going to help keep us in the game. It was clearly going to be our defense whenever we knew Walsh was starting and whenever we saw him start.
Yeah.
But where'd the defense go? Because the defense just kind of disappeared.
They did get a...
Do you think they just get tired out through 12 games of the season?
I mean, if the defense is the team, pretty much, and they're... I don't know. I think they lost it. After the loss to Baylor, they could care less, probably. The defense could care less.
I don't think that... I mean, I know that OSU loss to OU was really bad.
Yeah, it was bad.
But I don't think it was nearly as bad as people would think it was. I mean, if you take a couple of those pick sixes...
Did you watch
that
game?
Up, yeah, I watched it. So, I mean, if you take a couple of those pick sixes, turn those around, I mean... You might have a game that was maybe within 2 touchdowns. I mean,
maybe.
I don't know. I don't think it was nearly as bad as people remember, but I think what happened is OSU around halftime they just completely gave up. That game was over. But there for a while, I honestly thought OSU was going to win because they scored 2 touchdowns right out of there. Or they scored a touchdown and a field goal right out of the gate. So,
yeah, and to bring it back, I don't know where the offense went.
Yeah.
But I don't think OSU's team was ever built on relying upon the offense to win. It was always relying upon the defense to hold them to enough stops. West Virginia game, Texas game, TCU game, the defense just great and had 4 receptions. I mean, there was a bunch of games like that where the defense was just there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure as the season ended if everyone just decided we're going to double team Agba and that's the entire strategy and whoop, that's it. Because I think that would have been figured out way earlier in the season. So we just played better talent, and that's what happened. That's my one question for college football this year for OSU, is the defense just got too tired at the end of the games, and that's it.
Yeah, I agree. And our offensive coordinator should be gone, but that's just my opinion.
Someone almost hired him away, and I got so excited with that, and they didn't. I kept us with them. Gosh, dude, that was not fun.
All in all, though, an OSU team that was ranked in the 20s to start in the preseason, or were they even ranked?
They weren't
even ranked.
Yeah. OSU did way better than anyone thought they would for the record.
Absolutely.
But they were
the defense should have
yeah.
OSU is the one team out of the Big 12 that, with 3 weeks left, I don't think anyone thought OU was able to make, or 4 weeks left, I don't think anyone thought that OU was going to make the national championship playoff.
Well,
with 4 weeks left, when we were playing TCU.
Oh, yeah.
After we beat TCU the way we did, I don't think anyone was like, well, OU's got a chance. I think that at that point it was, it's OSU's to lose, and fair enough, we lost it. It's OSU or Baylor's to lose, because OSU played.
Because Baylor was still undefeated.
OSU had an off week whenever Baylor played OU, right?
Mm-hmm. Or somewhere along that.
But it wasn't.
Baylor had an off week whenever.
Yeah. So, as it stands, I'm glad OSU did as good as they did. They went from being an unranked team this year to finishing in the top 15.
Yeah, 10-2.
Yeah, 10-2.
Yeah.
With the only losses to 2 teams who we planned on losing to in the season by a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my takeaway, though.
Yep.
The defense, I just wish the defense had just been there for the last 2 games of the season and really just held the guys. Because I don't think that Baylor and OU were really bringing just crazy new things to college football that everyone was in awe of. They ended up losing to Texas the next week with a worse quarterback for sure. But still, that's my takeaway.
Yeah.
No, you want to talk about NBA for a little bit here? Yeah.
Oh, okay. We do have time? Okay.
Yeah, we got enough time.
I didn't know.
Wow. Who's surprising to you in the East?
In the East, oh man, we had to start with the horrible division.
Oh, the Knicks, I think.
Knicks?
Yeah,
Porzingis?
Knicks.
Mm-hmm. Porzingis.
Considering they were last year, almost dead last in that East.
I know, they're terrible.
They were second. Well, I'm not considering the 76ers as a team anymore at this rate, but. They were down there below, about 76er range.
Yeah, Carmelo gone too.
Yeah, I think Porzingis could. I think Carmelo get traded in the offseason.
Yeah, is that Carmelo's team or Porzingis' team?
Phil Jackson now running the head up basketball operations.
It's Phil Jackson's team.
Yeah, so it's Phil Jackson's team first and foremost, but unless Porzingis goes down with an injury, I hope he doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
Every basketball fan hopes, no one gets an injury, but at the end of the season, I think that it's going to be Porzingis' team no matter what, and I think right now even a lot of people would say it was too. I don't think Melo. We'll see how much Carmelo has left in the tank this season, but
he may have some.
He may have a little
playoffs,
right? And he may just be get real rushed before playoffs. You're right. So I think the Knicks will make the playoffs, but. We'll wait and see. That's my favorite phrase, but I really think that Porzingis should just be his team. Move Melo out for some other guys who can shoot. Porzingis is a very, very young player.
Oh yeah.
I don't think he's even 20 yet, if I'm right. So he's got a lot to learn, a lot to grow, and he'll play better talent if as the season goes on.
So who's your surprise in the West?
In the
West. Yes, I changed it up on you.
Mavs.
I'm Spurs.
The Spurs never surprise me. The Spurs are always way up here,
but
everyone just forgets about them.
I keep saying, oh, their age is finally gonna get up to them. Nope, they can be like the oldest team apparently ever.
Yeah, I mean Tim Duncan's having a historically great season again at age 35 plus.
Yeah,
but I think the Spurs have just done a really. Greg Popovich is a really good players coach of maturing guys and showing them how to play
and giving them rest.
And giving them rest, yes.
Even though people don't like that necessarily.
He's got the
Does Summer West
to
team
do that.
Huh? You said Mavs, but you didn't explain why.
Yeah. I know yours are the Spurs. I understand that. But I don't think the Mavs were just really going to... They weren't jumping off the page maker in the season. They got Wesley Matthews, right? Who I didn't view as being that great. And they have Chandler Parsons, Dirk, and Darren Williams, and Zaza Pachulia as their center.
That's a fun name to say.
Zaza Pachulia. But, yeah, I worked on that one. But I didn't think with the Mavs' team that was going to be able to make the playoffs and do as good as they have, for sure. Mm-hmm. I didn't think the Mavs were great. I still don't think they're great. I think Oklahoma City is really good.
I do too.
But I don't think the Mavs are that good right now. But the Mavs just show a lot of potential as being a team that can mesh real well together, make it on the right end of the season, make a good run in the playoffs, too. Dirk shows signs of life every now and then.
Of course.
Or every night, really.
Yeah.
And it seems like Rick Carlisle is just a good enough coach to mesh them all together. What about you, Jonathan? Is your surprise team overall, I guess?
In the West?
Either way. Trey got East, I got West.
I might take the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Oh.
Really?
Because I thought they were going to be a lot better than they were this year.
I
really did.
I
really did. Because with Karl Anthony Towns, he's playing pretty well. And then I have Ricky Rubio. They had a lot of the young pieces in place to actually have a decent season. And I don't know what it is. Every single year, Minnesota's just terrible. So I thought they'd be a lot better than they were. I really did.
Wiggins on them.
Yeah, Wiggins too. Yeah, I know, and Bennett too.
Mm-hmm. And old KG.
Bennett, yeah. Old KG. I think they'll be fine in the end of the season. The thing that hurts them the most is being in the Western Conference, especially being in this crazy Western Conference where there's a team out there that has 25 wins.
I agree. Yeah.
Or 26 even, and one loss.
Yeah.
I mean, the Warriors is something that I think at the end of the season we will look back and go, that is ridiculous.
You know what's
because
sad, though?
they lost in the Western Conference Finals.
Spurs are only like 3 games behind, or
4
games.
4 games
Really?
behind.
Wow.
Yeah, the Spurs have like 5 losses. They rest guys and they don't value too much and they come back. I think this is one of the years where the Spurs are just going to be amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And we always say this as like a collective sports, talk show or group people overall. This will be Tim Duncan's last year. This will be Manu Ginobili's final year. This will be Tony Parker's last year. Then it turns out, nope. It's actually they're gonna go play another year and have historical stats again.
Yep.
I think the Spurs are really, really good, and everyone's talking about it now because everyone's knowing they didn't talk about it early in the season when the Warriors were on that run. But you gotta talk about an undefeated team.
Oh, yeah.
It's how you're gonna fill airtime. An undefeated team.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of the Sports Center every night that they keep winning games. I think the Warriors are ridiculously good. I think the Thunder will see in the Western Conference Finals. But overall, the surprise team, I guess for me, that I thought would do a lot better, that isn't.
Yeah.
Is that the oops, they're there team or whatever we want to call it. For
76ers? They're oops, they're there.
Honestly, no, but
okay.
the 76ers should be doing what?
They draft too many centers. I mean, every single draft.
Yeah, okay, but I guess my shocking team overall is how much the Kings, I hoped they were going to be good. Or even the Lakers at that point, man. Lakers.
D'Angelo Russell. Yeah.
The Lakers, I thought, with Julius Randle. The Lakers are the team I'm looking for.
Especially if it's like Kobe's last season. You would think they would, kind of at least give some more effort than what they're showing.
Right, because, man, that is just... Actually, that game's on TV. But I guess I'm appalled at how bad the Lakers are. They gave the 76ers their only win of the season, man.
Yeah.
I
was not happy about that.
No.
Because I made them my hashtag hype train, and that just...
That was... I mean, my hashtag hype train team was the Kings. Marcus Cousins Kings, but they're not doing great. But
they're doing better than the Lakers.
Yeah, that's for sure.
That's true.
Oh, my gosh. I'm loving Thunder season, though.
Why is that?
Thunder look good.
Yeah, right.
I know they just lost to the Cavs, and the way they did when they only had one player... You know, Thunder was without only one player, and the Cavs were without Kyrie Irving. We were without Anthony Morrow, and the Cavs were also down like Mo Williams and Amon Shumpert too. So the Cavs were down a couple guys, and we weren't. I'm really curious why Billy Donovan started a lineup of DJ Augustine, Kyle Singler. Just Collison and I forget who, and Cantor, or not, yeah, and Cantor as like the fourth quarter started. That's who it was, and Waiters.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Cavs went on like a 9-0 run to start the fourth quarter because that was the lineup of Augustine, Waiters, Singler, Cantor, and Collison. I mean, that's a horrible lineup.
Yeah.
And the Cavs went on a 9-0 run, took advantage of it because the Thunder were making great runs that game. On last Thursday, and it just didn't. We couldn't keep it because we had to sub guys out eventually.
No, I agree. I think Billy Donovan. I kind of disagree with a lot of Billy Donovan's rotations. I still take him over Scott Brooks any day of the week. But
I still like Scott Brooks, but
really, okay.
I think Scott Brooks is
once he figures out the rotations. I think.
Yeah, I agree. I think if I were him, I'd be playing Cantor more than Steven Adams, but that's.
I don't think you can in so many games.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's matchup issues. I think. I mean, Adams almost gets 10 boards a night.
Yeah,
you know, he's almost averaging that. He
great
just doesn't average points. Cantor, I think is the second team player off the bench that we wanted. Because when you take Ibaka out, you want a guy like Cantor who can pick and pop in there with a Westbrook if he's still on the floor, or with the DJ Augustine who can nail some threes, and with Anthony Morrow, Deion Waiters. There's just a lot of. There is some offense, luckily, on the second team of the Thunder as opposed to the last couple of years when there just has not been, especially down low.
Mm-hmm. I do like the Cantor pickup, even though I didn't like it at first.
I didn't love it at first, and I don't love that contract, but definitely right now as it stands, there's just stuff going on where I just don't love how Billy Donovan's running the offense. Some of the lineups are unusual, but I think he's still trying to figure it out.
Yeah, he's new to this. He's never coached in the NBA. He's only coached college kids, so.
Very true. All right, well, thanks so much for joining us this time, Jonathan. We will try to make sure you get another radio show.
Pleasure, man.
And good job on 2015.
Woo!
All right.